I have some unfortunate news. The recording for episode 4 was corrupted and my microphone is starting to break. So, for this episode, the audio is from my crappy webcam. So sorry. Hello everybody. Welcome to That Young Cineast. Today is episode 4. Today is also February 25th. Today we are doing our second ever scene read, and I think it's going to be an exciting one. I'm joined by our moderator Emma and our co-host Kaelin. Say hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, she's back.
I'm back.
She is back.
No, I think we were severely lacking in having Emma last time because
We
we
kinda.
talked for like an hour and a half or 2 hours.
Wow.
So if
The
we had
episode
Emma,
turned out to be 53 minutes long.
yeah, and that cut out a lot of us just rambling.
Yeah, I cut off like 20 to 25 minutes. That's a whole episode right there.
Yeah,
That
Extended cut?
we could have cut that in half, honestly.
We
but,
could have. On it, yeah, you're right. Could have been ahead a day or ahead a few weeks.
Yeah.
But it's too interesting to not.
We can. I don't think we even finished it. We had some stuff that we could continue on next time or some other time.
Oh, for sure.
So,
I could talk about so many other things.
Yeah, you put the laundry in the ads or the promo, and we didn't talk about laundry. Yeah. That was a fun one.
Yeah. Did you like that? I thought that was cool. Like the pre-release photo.
That was really cool. I like the little. I mean, you listed out what the cameos were, but it was cool to see.
Yeah, I feel like I should have done like an empty version, and then you swipe and you see all the information. I thought of that after I posted it, and I was like, that's a good idea. But
like each slide would have been like a different like piece of information for.
Well, I did that recently. My movie making past. That post. That's what that was. It's an attempt to ease myself in like, I should have done this. I should have done that.
It's all good. But, we learn, we grow.
You know what's interesting, Kaelin? I don't see you reposting these things.
Don't call me out right now.
Kaelin doesn't know how social media works.
I don't really post on social media, but at the same time, like, we'll talk about this later.
Oh, okay. Well, today we're reading a scene. And I'm not sure how we did it last time. I think
we assigned roles.
We assigned roles, and we had Emma reading. Emma was reading the stage directions.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And like one-off characters.
Yeah.
Cool. So in this February scene, we have 3 characters. So I've shortened it down. I've lessened like the action. It's more of Okay, so it's more of this one scene is more of a young adult coming of age movie. I don't know. It's just like a quick, like I felt more connection to it than the last one. It wasn't like trying to meet a genre necessarily, but just trying to have like a conflict of morals or like of wants and needs between characters. So
interesting.
I feel like I could expand it into its own film because it's already 6 minutes long. I felt like I think what I felt was like a change in like plot and like developments all over the thing. I don't know. We'll see what you think. But
yeah, we have not read this. We have not read this.
But, I'm excited.
We don't read any of the scene reads before, or like the 2 that we've done. We haven't. We go into it blind.
Yes. Okay. So I think, Kaelin, you have it pulled up?
I haven't scrolled down
yet,
but I'm starting to okay, there's Drew, Luke, and then I'm sure there's a third.
Yeah, there's another one. Okay, so Kaelin, you go ahead and be Drew.
Nice. Okay, sick.
I'll be Luke. And Emma, you'll be the bystander when they come up.
I like how you don't write women. You just write men, and then you have Emma read the stage directions and the random person.
Who knows? What if they're women?
Okay, so I'm Drew. Okay. You're Luke.
Yeah, you're Drew. I'm Luke. Emma is stage direction and bystander. If we can like read, last time I kind of skipped over it, but like the parentheses after every like speech, Like if it's like direction on the way how to speak it, you can ignore that. But if it's like an action, then
We read it
that
or
out
Emma
loud,
reads it?
Emma. Emma.
Oh,
Okay. Cool. Ready?
no.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Ready. Okay.
Interior library, afternoon. One boy, teen, Luke, sits at a table with a laptop in front and a backpack and a chair to his left. While wearing headphones, he replays the same video a couple of times. Another boy, teen, walks up and places his backpack on the table. Drew.
Luke, hey.
Luke looks up, pauses the video, takes off headphones.
Hey, what's up? What are you doing here?
Come through here all the time. I like the quiet. What are you up to?
I just wanted some quiet too. Just reviewing my film.
The short film? Is it finished? Can I finally see it?
Sitting down.
I don't have a lot of time left, and I still want to fix a couple of my mistakes, but I guess this is the final cut.
He turns the laptop around.
Yes! Finally!
Drew scoots the laptop to his face and plays the film.
There are a couple things in the background. I didn't have time to edit it out.
Shh, I'm watching a movie.
Moments pass as the film continues.
Look, right there.
Luke points to a corner of the screen.
The judges would probably notice that.
Dude, this looks great. I didn't even notice it.
The video ends.
Have you filled out the submission form?
Not yet. I spent too much time fixing all my mistakes.
It's due tomorrow. Are you crazy? It's like 5 pages long.
Also, it costs money to submit, plus the 5 pages. I'm not sure if I want to enter the film festival anymore. I probably won't win anything anyways.
Doesn't matter if you win. You have a product and a chance to put it out there. Why not? This deserves some recognition.
This is some sloppy work.
Dude, it looks like a movie. It's rich in colors and that blur.
Luke chuckles.
You know you deserve some recognition.
Beat.
Even if I do get seen, everyone will think I'm an amateur.
Half of the other competitors' old work looks like they were filmed on an office phone. No blur. Yours doesn't compare.
I can make a better film next year, I promise.
Oh, don't promise me. I'm not the one who's losing out on this opportunity. You've been working on it for months.
Beat.
Tell me, what work did you put into this project?
You know what I did.
I do. I want you to hear it.
I wrote, directed, and edited it.
See, that is effort. Judges probably want to see effort. If they reject you, then go make that better movie next year. At least your name is out there. Hopefully they'll remember you and your blur. So, submit.
Maybe.
Sighs.
Maybe?
Sighs. Drew looks around. An adult bystander walks by the table. To bystander.
Excuse me, ma'am?
Waves.
Do you mind watching a clip of a movie my friend here made? Really quickly.
Luke's posture tightens and shrinks. Oh yeah, I would love to. She walks over and stands by the table. Drew hits play. Seconds of tension and her watching. Luke hits stop. Wow, this is really well made.
Right? And the blur!
Bystander and Luke chuckle. To Luke. How old are you?
I'm 15.
What's your name?
Luke Santino?
Well, I'm Ava Morales. It's funny because I'm actually a film professor at the college down the street. So I review student films for a living.
Oh, wow.
Chuckles. Luke, half my freshman students can't reach this quality yet. I can tell the work is there. We have a summer program for high schoolers where you'd work with other students to write, direct, and edit short films. I'd probably recommend the more advanced courses for you instead of just the basics, considering your film and apparent experience. Drew smiles.
Wow, yeah. I'll definitely check it out.
I'm curious. What's the reason you made this film? Was it to enter a festival? For fun?
Funny you may ask.
Drew looks at Luke, eyebrows raised. Luke smiles.
Luke was just doubting if he should enter into a festival or not.
Well, I'll need to submit it by tomorrow, and the It's not the way I want it to be. It could be better.
Everything could always be better, especially when making movies. I say, Luke, don't be a perfectionist. It'll hold you back. Your film is well over the expectation of anyone your age.
Thank you for those inspiring words, Miss Morales.
No problem. This was fun. Good luck, Luke.
Thank you.
She walks away. Drew slides the laptop back to Luke.
See, she's a teacher and still praises your movie. That would convince me any day.
She was a professor, and that was crazy.
Drew glances at the window and sees a woman waving annoyingly.
Oh, my mom's here. I've got practice.
Drew begins packing his stuff, pointing at laptop.
Submit this. You deserve it. It's good enough.
Drew equips his backpack and leaves. Lou looks down at the laptop.
And scene. Finally, we got through that.
I know. 3.5 times is it's a charm. What? Okay, so they're at a library. Is like
Yes.
They're at a library, and then this professor happens to be at this library rather than like a university library.
It's a university
different.
library.
If it's a university
try to say things
library,
that I don't have to
why
say.
is she not in her university library?
I think she is, but then why is Luke at the university? Why is Luke and Drew at the university library?
And if it is her
Who knows?
university library, why would
In the
she
other
works at the
scenes-
university down the street?
Is it like a high school that's attached to the university?
I'm not sure. I didn't think that far into the setting. I mean, it was just library.
I think it was just,
Who would be at a library? I was thinking college library, university library.
Okay.
I don't know why they were there. I'm assuming that it's just a nearby library that's nice enough for him to be to get some quiet, and that's also like near like some community places where I guess Drew would practice his sport.
Can students just walk into a university library though like that?
I don't know. I'm a high schooler.
I don't know.
I don't know how
I
this
don't-
Yes,
works.
they can.
They can. Public
They
universities.
can.
I
Public
have
universities.
no idea how this works. I'm writing to make things up.
I think you'll see in my face when the woman's like, "Hey, what's your name?" I was like, "Well, what is happening right now?"
Oh yeah, I figured you were. I was trying to make it as weird.
Also, she was like,
weird as
"How?"
possible.
She was like, "How old are you?" And he's like, "I'm 15." And she's like, "What's your name?" Like, it just came off a little creepy. Like, I think that's the.
No, I think that was pretty natural.
I was thinking
what
like
I
she
think would've
doesn't
been
give
natural-
off like, she gives off like friendly non-predator vibe.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Obviously.
I think that's what it's supposed to be. But okay. I think my
think.
natural transition to this, if they're on a university campus and he doesn't look old enough to be a freshman, might be, instead of "How old are you?"
What year
something
are
to the
you?
effect, "Are you a student here? Are you a freshman?"
Yeah.
And that'd be, I think it's the "How old are you?" that threw me off in a random library to "What's your name?"
Yeah.
So I think he'd be like, "Oh no, I'm not a student," and she's like, "Oh, what's your name? Are you thinking of coming here?" And then like starting that conversation into the whole like, "Well, I'm a professor here. This work is incredible," and that's how that conversation continues from there.
Yeah, I was having a little trouble trying to figure out like traction and stuff, making that weird or like just really blocky, you know.
Yeah. No, that makes.
I haven't had a lot of interactions with like random people approaching me, so I don't have a lot of things to base it on.
The other thing that I thought was interesting was just how much Drew was talking back to the professor when the whole conversation is between Luke and the professor, and he just like, "Yeah, thanks for your words." Like, she's not talking to you, Drew. She's talking to Luke. Why are you thanking her for the words?
I thought that made sense.
I thought.
Because if Luke
I mean,
was more of this reserved, shy character who doesn't want to show his work, and Drew is this super extroverted that's really excited about his work, he's like, "See, look at that.
Yeah,
This
Exactly.
professor's really interesting."
I would
or
say all
interested.
that afterwards, rather than like, I don't know. Maybe people
I
are
thought it
like,
was pretty organic.
no, but really, I think it's just like the people that. I think we're just different people. So I think for me,
Yeah.
That's fair.
I mean, that's the whole point, is to give your different.
yeah.
Yeah. So combine that together, boom. Me.
I think because like just playing Drew, like for me, like I would have, if I was in Drew's place, I would have like let them have their space, and like yeah, and it'd be awkward, but
Yeah.
there would be other ways that I would have Drew kind of just like pushing the conversation forward instead of speaking for Luke. Like I would have even
Like,
made it as a joke to Drew or to Luke, of just like, see, man, like that's like she's saying it's
yeah,
good, like it
yeah.
should be good, instead of just being like thanks and like speaking for him. And I think that's where I think I would have gone a little differently for that. But
Huh. Okay.
like you're on the side of Ava Morales rather than on the side of Luke in this conversation. Like you flip it a little bit. Like he does that a little bit where he's just like, see, like, isn't it great? Like, but
I think I figured the relationship between Drew and Luke would be that Drew is usually often the person that keeps it moving forward and like is in
yeah.
usually control, and Luke is fine with that. And Luke is like, okay, that's he's used to that. He's used to how that works, and how Drew is often the one that's kind of speaking for both of them because I'm assuming that they're pretty close. So
It definitely sounded age appropriate and organic from my perspective. Was there anything specific, like a specific conversation you had recently that you were drawing on for this scene?
I kind of based it off of what I wished would happen, like what I wished would like what's the perfect scenario. I have a voice recording of me like literally the day after we recorded episode 3 or something, where I thought of the next scene, or after the episode 2, I think, where I was like, I didn't want to lose the idea, and I didn't want to like write a completely different scene. I felt it was good, like the moment it is. So I voice recorded it. I haven't listened to it. I actually just based it off of what I remember, but I put it together like Luke was obviously kind of I wish was me, and Drew was like a friend. Like Luke and Drew are two parts of my moral thoughts. So Luke is my insecurity, is like what if they don't like me? What if they think it's bad? What if they see that in the corner, that thing that I didn't get time to fix? And Drew is like, but this can happen. But if you don't do this, your name's not going to be out there. No one's going to know who you are. You're not going to meet these people. Like, let alone meeting Ava was because Drew put his name out there. So that's like two of those thoughts that are always fighting in my head whenever I try to make a decision or like do things in making film and stuff like that.
Interesting. So you were tackling these two conflicting ideologies that you have when you're approaching filmmaking. So what did you learn about yourself from writing this?
Um, I think that I agree with what Drew's pushing more than Luke. Is that like that's why I was able to kind of talk about what Ava was like, the lesson that she was giving to Luke was like perfectionism. That's something that I'm trying to learn, and I feel like I would accept more than keeping it to myself now. Now that I'm also doing this and like putting it out there and having people come up to me at school and like start talking about how I'm putting myself out there more. It's like they find it interesting. I find it like awesome that I'm making these things and people are seeing it, like let alone even if it being my friends or for now, but it's out there. And I'm learning how to tackle perfectionism through this podcast because every podcast I do make a mistake that I wish I can go back and fix. And that but the thinking is that in the next one I'll fix it. In the next one I'll fix it. So then by the end of it, it's piled on these fixing of mistakes and it's at roughly the best quality I would want it to be. It's a whole like letting yourself learn instead of keeping yourself from making mistakes. You know, is what I wish I would have enough experience and like the opportunity to like make things to actually make my mistakes, but I'm still afraid of them.
Yeah, and I think they'll still happen. I think there are projects that I work on now that are sometimes I'm like, wow, this is the best thing I've ever done. And then sometimes I'm like, wow, I just went from the best thing I've ever done to something that I'm not particularly happy with, but it is what it is. And I think that's going to happen. You're just going to have good days and bad days depending on, whatever the project is. And you learn from each one. It's never going to be 100%, but like you said, you just keeps piling up. And so you know what to do the next time around and what not to do.
I also wish that I had the time of months to work on like a short film like Luke does. So it's like kind of a stretched reality that I want to be in.
I see. So it sounds like from the both of you and both of your experiences that you guys both have a want for perfection and you really value your work and want to be able to do it justice. What do you do when that doesn't happen but work still needs to be created?
You do the best that you can, and you have to. There's always, I don't want to say always, but there's most likely going to be something that you have to sacrifice for the project. So not quality wise, but just something that you really like. I had a college professor, he was a journalism professor, and it was about writing, but I take it into editing all the time. And his thing was murder your darlings. And so there are sometimes these things that you really, really like that just doesn't fit. So if I'm looking at, I used to do like a lot of news packages back in the day. So there'd be like a sound bite, like a quote that someone says that I really like that I want to include in the video, but it just doesn't fit in the overall story with whatever I have lined out. You just have to cut it, unfortunately, for either time too sometimes, but just for the flow, just for the purpose of your overall story. So I think that's the thing. Like perfection would be including all the parts that you like, everything to tell the story, but sometimes you got to sacrifice some bits.
Yeah, I honestly was tempted. I think it was in the like recording that I made of the before I wrote this is like putting in like an extra little tidbit scene of somehow attaching a symbolism to what kind of characters they are, like what kind of people they are to their ice cream orders. That could be completely unnecessary to what the scene ended up being, as well as like last month there was like a quick scene that wasn't in the setting that we were like I was assigned, and I feel like that needed to be in there, but I feel like I could have like at least challenged myself to write it in one scene like I did here, which is what the challenge is originally. So I kind of like stretched it a little differently.
I think if you want to do something personality wise for this one, you could even have done something to do with their backpacks. Because you have nowhere that Drew opens his backpack, he just sets it down, but at the end he's like zipping it up and like putting stuff away.
Yeah, you're
Like
right.
you should have, no, you shouldn't. You do what you got to do. But you could have had a scene or a moment where he's pulling things out and it just shows there's spontaneity and his like craziness, like all his papers are a mess or whatever, or however you wanted to depict Drew. And
Yeah.
then Luke's a little bit more reserved and everything's a little bit neater and tightly packed. And,
The original scene was literally them meeting up for that's why they had ice cream orders, was meeting up to talk about it. But then I was like, no, I kind of want it to be like a meeting, not like a meeting, but like a meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a crossing of paths.
Like a crossing of paths. I think I got too far away from the mic there, so we'll figure it out. There's a note at the end of the scene where I put in Drew gets the like okay, it says Drew equips his backpack and leaves. Luke looks down at the laptop. ... What do you guys think is his final decision?
I think it leaves it up to think. I think he would submit it in the spur of the moment, maybe, but I don't know. He's so reserved that I don't know. I don't know, because it doesn't leave it like he's made a choice. Like he's still until the very end, still being like, I don't know, like, but that was crazy, but like, I don't know, and he's like, do it, man. So I think it all depends on how you want to make Luke's character. There's someone who, like you said, submits to Drew a lot of the time, and it's just like, fine, maybe I should do it, or finally finding his voice, and it's just like, not yet, maybe next time.
Well, I put a note. Or Emma, go ahead.
What I'm curious to know is what is Luke's motivation?
Yeah.
Motivation.
I
I don't
think you have
know.
perfection. I think you have perfection as one of them. He wants a
Well,
perfect
yeah,
project, but I think like ultimately,
he wants to make
I don't know.
something, yeah, that he's happy with, like 100%. Like he's not used to having to like let things go or having to let things slide. He wants it to be the way he wants it to, and I guess that's the thing he's chasing. But ultimately, that would end in him learning a lesson at some point.
I think it also like maybe that's part of it is that he doesn't have motivation, or he doesn't have that motivation. Like that motivation is missing because you don't know what he's gonna do. He doesn't even know what he's gonna do. Like he has no idea
So
what.
maybe it is finding like the end all lesson is that he finds his voice. But right now in this scene, he's like still, I guess, beginning of the plot is what I've typically done in these past 2 months. But like he's still about to learn something. He's still like
I mean, even if you expanded it, like the thing is, like you said, it might not even be submitting to the festival. It might be he finally has a connection, which is Professor Morales, and he goes back to the library and he sees her again, and he's like, "Hey, like, that was really nice words what you said." So now he's speaking for himself instead of Drew, and he's like, "Do you mind if we sit down and talk?" And then, is there any programs around, any project, like anything that I can work on at this stage in my life to get to this university, or even work on this as a career or something, like where he starts to build that network. And that's the win at the end, is that his name is in there. And maybe, I don't know, I was also thinking that like as a coming of age story, she's one of the judges for the film festival.
yeah. I was trying to like dodge that. That was like the first thing that came to my head, and that like signaled to me like cliche, cliche,
Yeah,
cliche,
I'm
cliche.
glad you didn't do that. um
I was trying to dodge
that's
it
where
as
I
much as
thought
I
you were
can.
going. But maybe something where she's just like, oh, I know some people on that. So he still gets an in with the festival, even though he's not like he's directly.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted it to be kind of more realistic. Like, not everyone submitting to this festival will meet someone that's a judge. You know, I wanted to make it like grounded instead of like, oh, this is fully a dream that you would want to have.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true.
In terms of like improvement, notice anything different?
Going back really quickly to the comments that Kaelin made about Luke's possible shift in or lesson learned on wanting connection and networking, I think it would be interesting to shift his motivation from perfectionism to growth, because that would explain why he's submitting a film into a film festival. If someone who is so scared about letting things go is trying to let things go, I think that shows more of a motivation to grow. He's reaching out to a professor, he's sharing his new ideas with his friend. I think that speaks more to his internal unspoken desire that I think would be really interesting to explore.
And let
Um,
me let me let me go even like let me blow this plot up a little bit more, because if you want to expand it, I do agree with Emma. The whole growth thing is, I think, where that shift in motivation is what I think should happen. But like I think to tighten it so that, because I think a lot of short films too, yeah, they can go big, but there's always kind of something central that's like it's contained. And I think that's also lack of budget to be able to shoot in multiple scenes and timing and all that stuff. But you can make it so that the film festival is run through the university, which is why he's there in the first place. And it's now he's come to the wire of debating whether or not he should actually submit. So he's on campus and he's like, I can turn this in right now. I don't know. Should I? What's going on? I'm finishing it up. I'm trying to make it good. It's due in a day, but like I haven't filled anything out. There could be like a poster for it that's torturing him, and he's sitting in front of it, and he's like keeps looking between that and his laptop, and he's like, is it good enough? And that kind of builds up. So that's also, yeah, you wouldn't make her a judge, but you would make her so that she knows about the program and could possibly, and it possibly even further says like, yeah, you should definitely submit that. Like I'm not a judge personally, but I think it might be good to submit. And like give him more opportunities through that. And it goes back to what I was saying, like maybe she knows some of the judges and is like, well, even if good luck to you, but like we'd be happy to we have some programs available and you'd be able to work with these same professors regardless if you win the film festival or not. And so that's a win, that he still has something in his back pocket, and that's growth too, where he's finding his voice more because now he's able to go from here and not just be stuck in this in his own. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, but you get what I'm saying. My train of thought just left the station, but you got where I was trying to come from at the beginning, at least. So
I want to know what you think I've improved on, even if it's the smallest thing or there's none at all, or I did not improve, like, or I went backwards. I just want to know, like, referencing the previous scene, what do you see that's different?
I think you went back to writing a little bit more about what you know, which was something that we talked about last time.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about teenagers instead of cops or police officers and a thief.
You think that positive, like that was a good thing that contributed to the quality of the scene?
I think you're able to pull more from your own experiences, maybe, even if it's not exact, or pull from, you going back to like, how would someone say this? Or what can I say? I think one thing I will say too is read script. I don't know if you read it out loud, but like writing dialogue and stuff, sometimes it's better to like read out loud because then you're able to find some clunkier stuff too. I think there was like a couple moments where I'm like, could have been a little bit smoother, but I think
I was like, yeah, this morning I was literally reading it to myself, going through like line by line, and I've changed every line basically, like kind of fixed it up. We're about to close.
So, you've written a second screenplay. This is really exciting. And we were just talking about the improvements that you felt you've made from the first one to now. So, do you just want to reflect on that growth so far?
I think I have improved. Well, not like I'm not gonna phrase it like that, but I've like kind of explored more into keeping it fluid, like the dialogue, and like instead of focusing on a lot of like story, like book novel esque like stage direction, I kept it more on the characters, which is not usually something I've done in the past. Like in terms of the I Am project and all of its paragraphs of direction and action, but I really like keeping it on the characters, and that felt like it was more real and more like, oh, this can happen. Like it immerses me a little bit more, and I connected to the characters in a way that I like based it off originally off of what I was like connecting with. So
I like that because I felt for the last screenplay, it did feel like you had a sense of disconnect with the characters that you wrote. And this one felt a lot more grounded. They felt like real people.
I agree.
yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna write about next time.
How exciting.
Should we give you a prompt? Should we?
Do you want to? Because like I've already done what I wanted to write about, which is filmmaking, I guess, or like what I wish can happen.
I
And
think
like
that should be your next challenge, writing through writer's block.
that's happened so many times.
Well, let's do it again. Put it on the pod.
Okay, sure. March is also going to be a little busier, so volleyball season's up. Um, I got camping on one weekend, volunteering on the other. It's going to be a little difficult, but once I get an idea in there, it turns up, and I could get a first draft in like a day, and then I could revise it like week by week. But the idea is pretty solid from the beginning. Is usually what happens with me. Like the Iron Project, I envisioned basically the whole plot, but then I had to figure out how to write it down and explain it to other people, and then make it so that it's apparent what happens. So that means I would have to dumb it down from what I thought in the head, and like there's so many, like you were talking about perfectionism and dropping things. Like, what was the thing that your professor said? Kill your
Oh,
darlings,
murder your
murder
darlings.
your darlings. Like, there's so many other things I wanted to add in the scene, but it just didn't feel right. Yeah, it's like I was playing with action figures in my head, and at some point, like, you're gonna look at your action figure and like see that doesn't really fit with what this action figure represents. So remove it. Yeah. I want to know what you guys thought was different. That's what I want to know. Like, I'm not sure if all of you have said everything, but I just want to bring it to you.
Yeah, for sure. I think I already touched on a little bit of what I thought was different. I do believe that the characters are really organic. It felt a lot more grounded. I said that already. Your stage directions do feel a little bit awkward, but I'm sure there's workarounds for that. Mm. What did you see, Kaelin? I know you touched on it a little bit. Is there
Yeah,
anything you wanted to expand on?
I think Matthew said it really, really well before that. Like the stage direction thing was a big one that there wasn't as many, so that was nice. I think also some of the stage directions also felt a little bit more natural compared to trying to write a interrogation scene in the middle of a park. But yeah, I think as Matthew said, there's always room for improvement, and I think I've said my piece on this.
Cool. Well, anything to keep me wary of next time? Like, and now you're gonna give me what I need to work on next time. I know what I'm kind of gonna work on, but um, what do you guys think?
I think the dialogue could be even more organic. It's getting there, but I think there's
Yeah.
room for improvement. I think that, like I said, that just comes from reading it out loud, or even if you wanted to do a mock-up where you have somebody else read the other parts for you and kind of back and forth just to see what works. Because like I even like there's some things that like could be switched even just a little bit, and like it's due tomorrow. Are you crazy? It's like 5 pages long. Like I guess depending on how someone would read it too. It's just me as the actor in that, but would have been like, what are you crazy? It's due tomorrow. Isn't it like 5 pages long? Kind of referencing how the fact that they've talked about it too. So like those little key things can also kind of insinuate some stuff that isn't necessarily seen in this, where they have talked about this before. And I had to ask you that when we were reading this, like, how does he know all this stuff? Like, how does he know that the form is 5 pages long? And you said, well, they've talked about it. And so even that line of like, isn't it like 5 pages long, could kind of show that. So those little tidbits and things that like you can mess a little bit around with the dialogue to make it flow a little bit better. But yeah.
I think as you're exploring how to improve dialogue and how to make the scenes flow a little bit better, I would advise that you stick to writing in this space that you're comfortable with, because reading through this, even though it was a little bit choppy in certain places and a little awkward, it still felt very grounded because we felt like you knew what you were talking about. And this was an experience that could happen. So, if you want to stay in this general area and continue to improve there before going off and challenging yourself to characters you haven't really dealt with, then maybe that's the direction you should go in for the next one.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, that's some good advice. I probably, if I want to experiment more with my dialogue, I'll probably keep talking about what I know, and honestly, keeping it in a more, yeah, like you said, grounded plot. And that's honestly what I've been trying to do in terms of, yeah, obviously writing, but also like watching things. Is I detaching kind of a bit away from what I was obsessed with, which was Marvel superheroes, and like going into more like, I would say, classic films. QQ, hint hint.
Hint hint for
And
next episode.
I've been trying to explore more like not action sci-fi, like more like personal and like morality stories, like lessons So yeah, I think that would help me get across a message easier. Like short films usually have more of a message than action, or like more of a message than like explosions. I'm trying to get that across and then playing with the explosions if that helps the plot.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Way putting it.
I think that was a good conclusion to our scene read in February. Uh, yeah, we've been recording for like an hour.
We'll see how much you can
good
cut out.
luck, Matthew, in the future. I know you have a busy week ahead of you. Good luck.
Every time I messed up, I saw Matthew just die a little bit inside.
I know this is gonna take like 2 weeks to edit. Like it's
real.
I almost said October. It's February 25th.
Yes.
And I released the third episode like 3 days ago. And we recorded the third episode like 2 weeks
February
ago.
is a short month.
Yeah.
February is a short month.
That's fair.
Happens
That's
like
fair.
that.
Thank you for listening. My name is That Young Cineast, and we did a good scene read. I really loved the what we talked about. It was really fun. All right, goodbye. Episode 5 coming soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah. It's the one where Emma says you're not gonna thank your moderator. I just love that moment too in our podcast.
Yeah, that was funny. Well, anyways, thank you, Kaelin. All right, goodbye.
You're not gonna thank your moderator? What? I asked so many great questions.